This is a narration of a news article from today from the research journal Nature. The immune system can sabotage gene therapies. Can scientists rein it in? People treated with gene therapy cannot receive a second dose for fear of a dangerous immune response. Researchers hope to find a way around this. This article was written by Heidi Letford. When Donovan Decker volunteered for a trial of gene therapy, it wasn't for his own benefit. Decker had a genetic muscle disorder, but the trial aimed to assess only the therapy's safety, not its effectiveness. And the experimental treatment, a virus that would shuttle a healthy gene into his cells, would be injected into a muscle in his foot and was not expected to travel much further. What's more, his immune response to the virus might rule out future treatments. An assault mounted by his immune system on the virus, it could not only disable the therapy, but also harm Decker. Decker thought of his family. He had 4 sisters and 2 nieces with the same condition, limb-girdle muscular dystrophy, and enlisted anyway. And he thought scientists would eventually work out a way to quench immune responses to the virus, giving people like him access to future gene therapies. Nearly a quarter of a century later, this has not happened. It's a big disappointment to me, she says. I really didn't think I was going to be here 25 years later and still not be able to be redosed. The field of gene therapy has blossomed over the past decade, generating a stream of official approvals for various treatments and a burgeoning pipeline for clinical trials. But the inability to administer more than 1 dose of a virus carrying restorative genes limits what gene therapy can do. At the American Society of Gene and Cell Therapy annual meeting in Baltimore, Maryland, on the 7th to 11th of May, researchers presented myriad potential ways of overcoming the problem, from suppressing immune responses to cloaking the virus or leaving it out altogether. This is a huge issue for the field, says Martin Kang, who develops gene therapies for respiratory conditions at the Medical University of South Carolina in Charleston. Dosing dangers. The need for a solution has become clearer as researchers have learned more about gene therapy. Long-term data shows that the effects of some gene therapies wane over time. Others might need to be given in multiple doses to provide a significant benefit, even in the short term. And many people are ineligible to participate in clinical trials at all because of previous exposure to adeno-associated viruses, relatively harmful viruses that are used in many gene therapies and that circulate in the environment. These are the new heartbreaks in the rare disease community, says Annie Kennedy, Chief of Policy, Advocacy and Patient Engagement at the Every Life Foundation for Rare Diseases in Washington, D.C. There's now this new measurement that you have no control over, whether or not you have a pre-existing antibody. Studies in multiple countries have estimated that 30 to 70% of the population has antibodies that can neutralize adeno-associated viruses. Some families, eager to enroll a loved one in a clinical trial, will choose to self-isolate for years to minimize the risk of exposure to adeno-associated viruses. Researchers working on mice have spent years looking for drugs that can prevent immune responses to gene therapy. Some have been trying medications that prevent rejection after organ transplants. Others are attempting to dampen the activity of antibody-producing cells called B cells. But so far, the results have been disappointing. There's a ton of work in this space, says Lindsay George, a pediatrician at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. But I haven't seen anything that's really viable coming out. One problem might be the intense focus on B cell responses, says Kang, because other immune cells, called T cells, are also capable of remembering past encounters with viruses. T cell responses are absolutely critical, he says. They might play a larger role than people realize. At the Baltimore meeting, researchers presented the results of animal studies, suggesting that more effective methods might be on the horizon. Nicholas Giovannon, an immunologist at Regeneron in Tarrytown, New York, described antibodies that bind to and block an important protein called CD40, used by both B cells and T cells. Mice given the antibody before receiving adeno-associated viruses had levels of antibodies against the virus that were indistinguishable from those of mice who had not been given adeno-associated viruses. I've never seen anything like it before, Giovanni said, "We think this might be a 1-2 punch where we can tackle both the B and T cell response." Kang and his colleagues have also been trying to mute T cell responses, since finding that their experimental gene therapy for a genetic lung disorder called surfactant protein B deficiency might need to be re-administered to achieve long-term benefits. At the meeting, Kang reported results from his team's efforts to suppress T cell and other immune responses to adeno-associated viruses by inserting certain genetic sequences into the virus. They found that 1 dose of this enhanced gene therapy suppressed some immune responses against adeno-associated viruses in mice, but not all. To their surprise, a 2nd dose of the therapy was nevertheless effective against the respiratory ailment. It's a mystery why the approach worked, despite the residual immune responses, says Kang, but might have something to do with the fact that the therapy was administered directly into the lungs, rather than the bloodstream. As is often the case in medicine, it might ultimately take a combination of approaches to achieve redosing of gene therapies, says Julie Crudell, a gene therapy researcher at the University of Washington in Seattle. The answer is likely to be a cocktail. Others are focusing on alternatives to adeno-associated viruses. At the meeting, Chris White, head of translational research at Ring Therapeutics in Cambridge, Massachusetts, presented data showing that a class of viruses called adenoviruses can evade detection by the mouse immune response, can shuttle DNA into mouse cells, and can be administered multiple times safely. And many researchers are working on non-viral alternatives such as fatty particles that can carry DNA or RNA into cells, similar to those used in mRNA vaccines against COVID-19. Decker has decided to take matters into his own hands and is raising money to launch a company focused on non-viral methods of gene therapy. Last time he was tested for adeno-associated virus antibodies, 14 years after his clinical trial, he was still positive. Despite his frustration, Decker does not regret his decision to participate in the clinical trial 25 years ago. 2 weeks after he was treated, the death of a teenager named Jesse Gelsinger in another gene therapy study sent the field spinning. It would take years to right itself, and Decker is grateful that he was able to contribute to data that might have helped the field to progress even during turbulent times. The only reason, in my opinion, that gene therapy is even possible today is because of the trial I was in, he says. The article in question comes from Muhiri, Levy, Schultz, and Gao, and is written about in Nature Molecular Therapy, Volume 30, pages 1364 to 1380, and published in 2022. Next, we'll be reading this article by Muhiri et al. And the article is titled Durability of Transgene Expression After Recombinant Adeno-Associated Virus Gene Therapy. Recombinant adeno-associated virus gene therapy has the potential to transform the lives of patients with certain genetic disorders by increasing or restoring function to affected tissues. Following the initial establishment of transgene expression, it is unknown how long the therapeutic effect will last, although animal and emerging human data show that expression can be maintained for more than 10 years. The durability of therapeutic response is key to long-term treatment success, especially since immune responses to recombinant adeno-associated virus vectors may prevent redosing with the same therapy. This review explores the non-immunological and immunological processes that may limit or improve durability, and the strategies that can be used to increase the duration of the therapeutic effect. Introduction. Recombinant adeno-associated virus gene therapy offers the potential for long-term amelioration of a number of monogenic genetic disorders following only a single treatment. The success of such treatments depends not only on the magnitude of therapeutic effect, but also on the duration. The longevity of the therapeutic effect is dependent on the maintenance of transgene expression over the long term. Evidence is emerging that the effects of recombinant adeno-associated virus gene therapy can be maintained over long periods of time. Behavioral recovery in a monkey Parkinson's disease model was demonstrated 15 years after administration of a recombinant adeno-associated virus-based gene therapy to the putamen. In humans, stable therapeutic expression of factor IX, also known as FIX, in people with severe hemophilia B has been observed over a period of 8 years following the systemic administration of a recombinant adeno-associated vector virus 8-based vector as of 2018. In addition, FIX expression has been detected in human muscle tissue following muscle-directed gene therapy up to 10 years post-administration. In the first two recombinant adeno-associated viruses approved human gene therapies, alipogene tepravovec for the treatment of familial lipoprotein lipase deficiency, and vortigene neparvovec for the treatment of Leber's congenital amaurosis, durability response up to 6 and 4 years has been reported in publications from 2016 to 2009, respectively. It is important to note that the timescales mentioned here do not represent the limits of treatment durability, but rather what has been observed and published to date. In its 2019 review of vortigene neparvovec, the UK National Institute for Health and Care Excellence, also referred to as NICE, noted the existence of data showing sustained therapeutic effects up to 7.5 years, although this has not yet been published in a peer-reviewed journal. However, loss of previously established gene expression has also been reported in both animals and humans. From these studies, it appears that the durability of transgene expression following recombinant adeno-associated virus gene therapy is complex and multifactorial, although the timing of loss of expression may provide important clues to the cause. Some non-immunological clues to the cause of loss of expression may be epigenetic processes such as transgene silencing, cell turnovers in transduced non-target cells, cell turnovers in target cells, cellular stress, or other life cell factors. Some immunological clues as to the cause of loss of expression may be innate immune responses to CpG motifs and double-stranded RNA, adaptive immune responses to vectors or transgene proteins, both cellular and humoral, or bystander activation. As more gene therapies enter the clinic, confidence in the durability of effect is of paramount importance to all stakeholders, including patients and their families or caregivers, physicians, researchers, industry, as well as payers and regulatory bodies, and will be key to deciding the value that each group of stakeholders attaches to gene therapies. For these reasons, it is important that the factors underlying durability are elucidated so that therapies and long-term follow-up of patients can be optimized to provide durable transgene expression. This review explores key concepts relating to the durability of transgene expression after it has been successfully established, outlining what we can observe from existing research and post-marketing data, and what remains unknown. Starting with a brief review of recombinant adeno-associated virus vector design and biology, non-immunological and immunological factors that may affect the durability of transgene expression and approaches to address them are then considered in turn. Both animal and human data are included, although it should be noted that the degree to which animal model data can be extrapolated to human gene therapy remains uncertain, especially when considering immunological responses to recombinant adeno-associated viruses from prior exposure to the wild-type virus. Each concept is discussed individually, and due to the remaining need for further research to fully elucidate the role for each factor and the possible complexities from interplay between these factors, we do not rank the concepts in terms of their importance in supporting the durability of transgene expression. An overview of the recombinant adeno-associated virus vector design and transduction biology. Adeno-associated viruses, a parvovirus that is dependent on co-infection with other viruses to replicate, is one of the most investigated in vivo gene therapy delivery vehicles to date. However, since the first in-human application in 1995, there is still only a limited timescale for assessing a transgene durability in humans. Recombinant adeno-associated viruses, which is 25 nanometers in diameter and lacks protein-coding viral DNA, both the rep and cap genes of wild-type adeno-associated viruses, is a protein-based nanoparticle that can traverse the cell membrane and deliver the transgene DNA that it carries into the nucleus of cells. Recombinant adeno-associated virus vectors can be engineered to alter their tissue tropism and to evade host immunity, thereby enabling more efficient transduction of the intended target tissue and successful establishment of transgene expression. Adeno-associated viruses are predominantly non-integrating, unlike other viral vector platforms such as lentivirus. Persistence of therapeutic effect after treatment is dependent on the formation and maintenance of circular episomes in non-dividing cells, while the inverted terminal repeats, or ITRs, that characteristically flank the adeno-associated virus genome clearly function as origins of DNA replication, as well as packaging signals in recombinant adeno-associated virus producer cells. Their roles in episomal persistence is not well characterized. The inverted terminal repeats serve as primers for second-strand synthesis in recipient cell nuclei, and then are targets for DNA repair factors that either join them together to form a circle or join them to other linear recombinant adeno-associated virus genomes to form concatemers, or to pre-existing chromosomal double-strand breaks, leading to relatively rare integration events. While the inverted terminal repeats, hairpin structures do appear to influence which DNA repair factors are needed to form circles, it is not clear that the process is more efficient, or leads to greater durability, than simple double-stranded DNA ends. In tissues with low cellular turnover, episomal DNA may persist for many years, as evidenced by long-term transgene expression observed in human and animal studies. Figure 2 outlines the essential steps following the administration of recombinant adenovirus gene therapy that must be achieved to establish transgene expression. For the remainder of this review, the focus is on the factors that affect durability after successful expression has been established. Figure 2, from recombinant adenovirus administration to long-term transgene expression. The recombinant adeno-associated virus vector binds to receptors on the target cell surface, and one is taken into the cell by endocytosis. Recombinant adeno-associated virus traffics from early to late endosomes and is delivered to the nucleus. Once inside the nucleus, the capsid is removed, uncoating, and releasing the genetic material. The transgene, if single-stranded, undergoes a second-strand synthesis before forming a double-stranded DNA episome, which is maintained in the nucleus of the cell where it can be expressed, resulting in the production of the protein of interest. Non-immunological factors that may affect the durability of transgene expression. Several non-immunological parameters may affect the durability of recombinant adeno-associated virus-delivered transgene expression over the long term. Interplay between certain non-immunological and immunological factors is possible. For example, promoter choice. Recombinant adeno-associated virus serotype, transgene characteristics, and route of administration may result in immune activation upon recombinant adeno-associated virus administration. This review explores each factor individually and does not examine the interplay in detail. We now focus on what we consider to be the relevant factors, highlighting each key animal and human data for each. Target cell population. At present, recombinant adeno-associated virus gene therapies are limited to targeting cells that are long-lived. Redosing through systemic delivery is not currently an option because of the host immune response to the initial therapy, and therefore establishing durable transgene expression is of great importance. Different cell populations have differential rates of cell turnover. Since episomes are not thought to be inherited by daughter cells and are likely to be lost during mitosis, the rate of cell turnover will determine the durability of transgene expression in the target tissue. Table 1 shows the human cell turnover of select cell types in various organ systems. Several attempts have been made to measure the cell cycle of human hepatocytes, but no complete analysis exists, and therefore it is hard to draw firm conclusions about the lifespan of human liver cells. Furthermore, the liver is made up of multiple different cell types, which are likely to have different lifespans. Existing data for liver-directed recombinant adeno-associated virus therapies show a durability far in excess of this commonly reported lifespan for human hepatocytes, indicating that either the lifespan of some transduced cells exceeds this figure, or that episomes are maintained through some unknown mechanism at a sufficient rate to support ongoing therapeutic effect. The rate of cell turnover may also vary depending on age. For example, as the liver grows in human children, cells turn over at a much higher rate than in adulthood. There is no known mechanism by which daughter cells inherit recombinant adeno-associated virus episomes, although this may happen under certain conditions. The episome may, by chance, segregate with one of the daughter nuclei and be maintained there until the next cell division. Alternatively, because many hepatocytes are either polyploid or multinucleated, they may undergo multiple modes of cell division during development or regeneration. Thus, a multinucleated cell carrying a recombinant adeno-associated virus episome in one nucleus could divide without entry into the synthesis phase and pass the episome to a daughter cell more efficiently. Similarly, hepatocytes can undergo synthesis phase without entry into the mitotic phase, potentially allowing the episome to remain associated with the nucleus, meaning that the durability of therapeutic effect would not be limited to one lifespan. Trials in children are planned and will provide insights into the degree and rate of episomal loss in pediatric livers, and therefore durability, following liver-directed recombinant adeno-associated virus gene therapy. Myofibers turn over slowly, and children have been included in studies for muscle-directed therapies. In humans, muscle-directed recombinant adeno-associated virus therapy for alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency has thus far demonstrated stable transgene expression at 5 years after vector dosing. Neurons also have a very low rate of turnover, which should support long-lived durability of neuron-targeted recombinant adeno-associated virus treatments, such as onasemnogene abeparvovec for the treatment of spinal muscular atrophy. According to a 2021 publication, onasemnogene abeparvovec has demonstrated a durability of up to 5.6 years after dosing. It should be noted that even though recombinant adeno-associated viruses can be engineered to more specifically target particular tissues, tropism is not completely selective, and there will be transduction of non-target tissues, which may result in transgene expression. The use of tissue and cell type specific promoters can help to restrict expression to the tissue and cell population of interest. However, this will not completely prevent expression in non-targeted tissues. Since recombinant adeno-associated virus delivered transgenes exist predominantly as non-integrating episomes, with random integration events observed at varying frequencies, it is likely that the episomes will be diluted over time as cells undergo repeated rounds of replication. This could lead to reduced translate gene expression and levels of the protein of interest, and this process will be accelerated in tissues with a high rate of cellular turnover. Although the non-integrating nature of adeno-associated virus is generally thought of as a safety advantage, the application of recombinant adeno-associated virus-based therapy is currently limited to long-lived cells, whereas it is hypothesized that a degree of integration may allow more durable expression in tissues with a higher rate of cell turnover. In cell culture, wild-type adeno-associated viruses has been shown to preferentially integrate into a locus on human chromosome 19, or similar sites bearing rep-binding elements. The integration of recombinant adeno-associated virus vector genomes has been noted in animal studies, but it is not targeted to a specific locus. In a 10-year follow-up of dogs with hemophilia A, evidence of recombinant adeno-associated virus integration had been observed. Interestingly, these changes were associated with increased levels of protein expression, indicating that a degree of integration might have a durability benefit. No evidence of malignancy has been found in any of the dogs, and similar findings have not been reported in humans to date. Naturally, integration and the potential for insertional mutagenesis remain areas for continued study and vigilance in clinical research. Transgene silencing, promoter turn-off, shut-off, and epigenetic processes. promoters vary in their ability to maintain long-term transgene expression in certain cell populations, and promoter shutoff is associated with a decline in transgene expression. There is a tendency for some promoters to turn off in cells in which they are not normally active. For example, the cytomegalovirus promoter used in some recombinant adeno-associated virus vectors is prone to shut off in the liver within 5 weeks of administration. The same phenomenon has also been seen in the central nervous system, where the cytomegalovirus promoter delivers high levels of neural expression that is silenced by 10 weeks in the murine spinal cord and dorsal root ganglia. Several studies have shown that the inclusion of neuron-specific promoters results in more efficient brain transduction compared with vectors carrying a cytomegalovirus promoter. DNA methylation is one of the major epigenetic regulatory systems that modulates gene expression. In mammals, the 5-carbon cytosine phosphate guanine 3-carbon, or CPG, island dinucleotide hypermethylation of protease is associated with the inactivation of gene expression, and has been identified as a mark for transgene silencing after murine leukemia viral vector transduction. However, the evidence for a role of DNA methylation leading to promoter shutoff is less clear-cut in recombinant adeno-associated virus gene therapy. In a study of muscle-directed recombinant adeno-associated virus in non-human primates, there was no evidence of promoter methylation, suggesting that the reduction in protein expression observed was not due to methylation of the recombinant adeno-associated virus genome. The role of DNA methylation in recombinant adeno-associated virus transgene expression and whether methylation would vary depending on the target tissue remains to be determined. Cellular stress. Recombinant adeno-associated virus vectors are the most commonly studied approach in the development of in vivo gene therapies for lysosomal storage diseases with neurological involvement, as they efficiently transduce dividing and non-dividing cells in the central nervous system. The transgene product, in this case lysosomal enzymes, may be overexpressed following gene therapy. Animal evidence suggests that there is a limit to the degree of overexpression that can be tolerated. Monkeys receiving direct intracranial injections of a recombinant adeno-associated virus vector encoding beta-N acetohexosaminidase, or HEX, developed neurological symptoms in a dose-dependent manner. Histological examination of the brain tissue showed cellular loss with a dramatic increase in HEX activity measured in the thalamus. None of the animals had developed antibodies against HEX, suggesting a non-immune cause of the neurological damage. The possible mechanisms for this cellular loss include overwhelming protein trafficking pathways, the unfolded protein response, and improper glycosylation. The endoplasmic reticulum is the site of folding of secreted and membrane proteins in eukaryotic cells. Incorrectly folded proteins are retained in the endoplasmic reticulum until they are stabilized, and irreparably misfolded proteins are targeted for proteasomal degradation. Overexpression of the transgene could overwhelm the endoplasmic reticulum quality control system, leading to the buildup of misfolded proteins and result in endoplasmic reticulum stress. Endoplasmic reticulum stress can trigger the unfolded protein response, a cascade that includes a reduction in protein translation and may lead to the death of transduced cells. High levels of expression of factor VIII protein may prompt an unfolded protein response in hepatocytes. This phenomenon is not observed following the administration of a null vector or a vector expression factor 9 in mice, suggesting that factor VIII levels are the cause of the response. It is possible that the ectopic production of factor VIII by hepatocytes rather than liver sinusoid endothelial cells could drive this response, as that may lead to the cessation of cellular translation and apoptosis, and ultimately a decrease in transgene expression. Next section, approaches to addressing non-immunological considerations for durability. As non-immunological factors that influence the durability of gene therapy become better understood, the techniques to improve durability are being explored. These approaches are still under investigation and therefore data supporting their use in humans are limited. Optimizing promoter selection. By selecting promoters that limit expression to the target cell as far as is possible, inflammatory responses that may lead to the elimination of transduced cells in target tissues may be avoided. Optimizing promoter selection can also reduce the likelihood of promoter shutoff in the target organ and provide stable and efficient activity in the target tissues. Shortened promoter sequences have also been used successfully to restrict expression to target cells within the mammalian central nervous system. Using recombinases to restrict gene expression to target tissues. Intronic recombinase sites enabling combinatorial targeting, or Intercept, uses vectors containing engineered introns to enable expression that is conditional on the presence of multiple combinations to target gene expression to specific cell populations. Scaffold or matrix attachment region. Since recombinant adeno-associated virus vectors do not possess integrase activity, the application of recombinant adeno-associated virus gene therapy in diseases that require long-term treatment is limited to terminally differentiated tissues. To overcome this restriction, recombinant adeno-associated virus genomes can be equipped with scaffold or matrix attachment regions, which are episomal replication, which enable ribosomal replication and thereby achieve the maintenance of transgene expression in proliferating cells. Targeted genomic integration. Transgene persistence can be enhanced by a programmable nuclease to integrate the DNA into the target genomic locus. Following this, the homologous-directed repair pathway of the host cell can use the recombinant adeno-associated virus genome as a donor template, leading to the heritable insertion of the therapeutic gene cassette into the host genome. Another strategy under investigation, GeneWrite, uses a recombinant adeno-associated virus vector to deliver a corrective transgene that is capable of integration without the need for promoters or nucleases. The transgene is flanked by homologous strands of DNA that are recognized by the DNA repair machinery of the cell, allowing integration at a specific site in the host genome. A similar approach reported by Smith and et al. Uses a gene editing platform based on a class of hematopoietic stem cell derived clade factor adeno-associated viruses, in which genome editing is guided by homology arms without the need for nuclease-dependent DNA breaks. Successful gene editing has been demonstrated in human cells in vitro and in vivo in mice. Immunologic factors that may affect the durability of transgene expression. Despite its low immunogenicity, immune responses to recombinant adeno-associated virus can occur at multiple stages following administration and have been shown to affect both the success of initial transduction and long-term durability of transgene expression. In addition to an immune response to the recombinant adeno-associated virus capsid, it is possible that the expression of a therapeutic protein in an individual who does not produce the wild-type protein can result in the identification of the protein as foreign and elicit an immune response. An immune response to the recombinant adeno-associated virus vector or transgene product involves a complex series of interactions between the innate and adaptive immune systems, as shown in Figure 3. Figure 3 shows the immune processes affecting the durability of recombinant adeno-associated gene therapy. Immune responses can occur against the recombinant adeno-associated virus capsid, transgene or transgene protein. In the case of recipients with prior exposure to recombinant adeno-associated virus or a similar serotype, monoclonal antibodies may prevent initial transduction, resulting in low or absent expression of the transgene. Innate immune responses could result in no expression or a rapid loss of expression, but they are more likely to provide important signals to the adaptive immune system, with the potential to reduce or eliminate expression at a later stage after transgene expression has been established. On subsequent exposure, memory cells of the adaptive immune system can respond rapidly with the release of monoclonal antibodies against the recombinant adeno-associated virus capsid. Double-stranded RNA, monoclonal antibodies should be replaced with the word neutralizing antibodies in the previous statement. Since the role of neutralizing antibodies in the potential prevention of initial transduction following the systemic delivery of recombinant adeno-associated virus has been well documented and reviewed elsewhere, and neutralizing antibodies affect initial success rather than durability, they are out of the scope of this review. Of relevance to durability, if transgene expression is lost, then it is predicted that immune memory, particularly the presence of these highly specific neutralizing antibodies, will prohibit systemic redosing with the same or a similar recombinant adeno-associated virus vector. However, it is worth acknowledging that most but not all current recombinant adeno-associated gene therapy trials exclude adeno-associated virus seropositive participants. It will be interesting to see whether successful transgene expression will be maintained over the long term in patients who had neutralizing antibodies to adeno-associated virus before recombinant adeno-associated virus gene therapy administration, or whether the interplay between neutralizing antibodies and other aspects of the immune system may play a later role in limiting the durability of expression in these individuals. Innate immune response to recombinant adeno-associated virus and the potential impact on durability. In the absence of prior exposure to adeno-associated virus, the innate immune response is the first line of defense against recombinant adeno-associated virus and can react with both the capsid and genome, as shown in Figure 4. Although the innate immune response against recombinant adeno-associated virus gene therapy is considered to be mild and transient compared with other viral vectors, it is understood that the innate immune system plays a key role in determining the extent of a subsequent adaptive immune response, and thus having the potential to affect the long-term durability of recombinant adeno-associated virus transgene expression. In particular, mouse studies suggest that the toll-like receptor 9 myeloid differentiation, or otherwise known as myeloid differentiation factor 88 pathway, is crucial for priming the CD8 positive cytotoxic T lymphocytes response to the recombinant adeno-associated virus capsid and the transgene product. Unlike that in wild-type mice, administration of an immunogenic adeno-associated virus RH32.33 capsid to the skeletal muscle of a toll-like receptor 9 deficient mouse did not result in an interferon gamma mediated cytotoxic T lymphocyte response. Furthermore, CpG deletion of adeno-associated virus RH32.33 capsid allowed evasion of the immune system and persistent transgene expression in the wild-type mice. More recent mouse studies have shown that CpG deletion from an adeno-associated virus 1 or 2 expression cassette reduces the cross-priming of capsid-specific CD8 positive T cells in mice, potentially reducing but not completely inhibiting T cell responses against the viral capsid and the therapeutic transgene. Figure 4 shows the mechanisms of recombinant adeno-associated virus detection by the innate immune response. In 2 hemophilia B clinical trials, codon optimization of the transgene resulted in the introduction of CpG motifs in the open reading frame of a recombinant adeno-associated virus gene therapy candidates BAX335 and DTX101. Within 3 months, FIX activity was diminished, suggesting that the loss of transgene expression may be due to the recognition of CpG oligodeoxynucleotides by toll-like receptor 9 and subsequent destruction of transduced cells. In the phase 1 or 2 BAX335 trial, one participant achieved long-term transgene expression, likely due to a mutation in the interleukin-6 receptor gene, making this participant less susceptible to innate immune signaling via interleukin-6. Recombinant adeno-associated virus vectors with naturally occurring CpGs removed have demonstrated durable expression, with no or manageable cytotoxic T lymphocyte responses. I'm going to stop here for this video. If you would like to read on in this paper, if you find this paper interesting and would like to read on, please remember that the title of this paper is called Durability of Transgene Expression After Recombinant Adeno-Associated Virus Gene Therapy, written by Mahuri, Levy, Schultz, McCarty and Gao, and published in Nature Molecular Therapy. Thank you for listening.